I'm Jerry Maddox.
And I'm Ryder Maddox in sunny California.
And you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, hosted by Joe Abbate.
Hello, I'm Roy Vanderveur, and in today's video, we're going to discuss 8 pro tips on how to help your Yamaha clutch survive the heat of battle. Setup is always crucial, and most of the things I'm going to talk about here are not in the manual. 7 of them are custom. Only 1 of them is actually in the book. So here's some things to look out for. You got your clutch push screw, and what can happen with this, all right, so the push screw, you pull the cable, it intersects the clutch push rod, which pushes it this way, which intersects this little ball bearing. It's about 5 millimeters, which provides a bearing interface because the clutch over here is spinning real fast. This stuff over here is not spinning, so that ball takes all the load of all of these springs while you've got the clutch pulled in, sitting on the starting line, waiting for the gate to drop. So this push rod hits the lifter, which pushes the pressure plate apart, which disengages your clutch. Okay, it's important to know that the oil supply to this ball is not very good, and if you're sitting there for a long time, either idling or wicked up waiting for the gate to drop, all that load is going right here. It gets real hot real fast, and it's real easy for that ball to weld itself to either this or this push rod. And if that happens, it's like somebody let the clutch out and the bike goes, because the length of the rod changes, that engages the clutch, and you're on your way whether you want to be or not. But there's some things you can do to help prevent that from happening. First and foremost is you don't put the bike in gear until the 5-second board goes sideways. Then let's look at the parts and what happens as they wear. It's real common for the clutch lifter to get these wear marks in them right here. This one is not bad. I am going to dress this up, but what it does is right where this rod hits the lifter, it'll wear a groove. And it is not unheard of at all for this to get worn deep into the lifter. If that happens, we need to weld that up and we need to reshape it. When I do these, I like to put a little 5-degree slope on here. It's very steep, very short, and it makes for a release on the clutch that I like. It's kind of a hinged feeling. And I got that from doing dozens, if not hundreds of these. So the next point is these clutch push rods, where they touch the ball, they will develop a little indentation. There it is. And let's hope that focuses in okay for you. So where the ball touches the rod, it starts to get rod. This one's not so bad. And same here, not so bad. But what I'm going to do is head on over to the bench grinder, and we're going to grind this perfectly flat because we want the smallest possible area of contact where that ball touches that rod. It's not uncommon for these to be completely cupped out. So much so that you could stand the rod up, sit the ball on top, and the ball will just sit on top of the rod. So I'm going to head over to the bench grinder and dress these up, and then we're going to quench them in oil because that's going to put a little heat into them. And anytime we quench steel in oil, it increases the hardness. So that's good. Off to the bench grinder. And we're into the oil bath to quench the ends of those rods, which will help improve the hardness of the metal. So there you see, no dimple. So that way, the rod will make the smallest area of contact possible against that ball bearing, and thus will create the least amount of heat and friction. There you go. That's something that if it's never been done, I can guarantee your bike needs it. So, let's talk about, all right, we got the lifter. I am going to, next, with a hand file, I am going to just gently work this little rut out of the lifter, and I'm going to change the angle a little bit. That's just for my preference. And next, we have to discuss the needle bearing that the clutch push rod rides on. This bearing leads a tortured life because it sits up here well above the oil level in the transmission. And for oil to get up to that bearing, one, it has to take a convoluted path, and two, it has to work against gravity. So to keep the clutch push rod in good shape, which this one's in great shape where the bearing rides, and to keep that bearing in great shape, I suggest hitting it with some grease, because oil just does not make it up to that bearing in any regular sense. You want to use something that is has no moly additives, because if there's molybdenum disulfide in the grease, over time that could creep down and end up on your clutch plates and cause some clutch slippage. This seal is protected by this washer, and you want to make sure that that washer is in place, because that seal needs all the help it can get to prevent water and dirt from getting down in that hole. Again, gravity is working against us, so The washer's not an accessory. It's necessary, and it needs to be there. And the last thing you can do to help keep water off this bearing is after you wash your bike, lay it on its right side and let any water that's on the top of the cases run off. Not a bad idea to hit it with a little oil around there, light oil like 6-in-1 or something like that. That helps keep water away. So here we go. Let's give a quick review. We had to dress the ends of the push rods. We had to dress the clutch lifter. Make sure that ball's in good shape. You don't want to go cheap on that and put a Chinese ball bearing in there. That thing's under a lot of load. Make sure that the lifter seal and the washer are all in place. And the last thing we'll be back for is how to adjust the clutch. That's the only one of these tips that's in the manual, but we're going to do it anyway. Oh, here's one more tip that I realized as I was doing the assembly. You want to make sure that the correct end of the clutch rod is going against the lifter. And we got our freshly cut end here, which is where we want the ball bearing going up against. So we'll put the clutch push rod in there, but then make sure we give it a good shot of lubricant, because the transmission oil level sits somewhere right around here when it's full up. For this oil to get up here and down that hole is a long path of travel, and we don't want to rely on chance to get the job done. So then we're going to put the ball in, and then just for our purposes here, we can slide the clutch push rod down, and we see some of that oil displaced. And then when we squeeze the clutch, you see how the lifter works right there. And then we've got our adjuster on the end. Okay, now we're at the easiest step of the whole procedure. We need to set the internal adjustment on the clutch. All we have to do is make it so when you put pressure against this clutch arm, the pointer right here lines up with the post on the crankcase. Yamaha has made this just as easy as it can be. So we take a Phillips head screwdriver and we screw the clutch push rod into the pressure plate, and you see how the clutch arm's coming out a little bit at a time. And then when we're pointing right at the post, we tighten the lock nut on the clutch push rod, and we are done. Not a little extra, not a little under. You want that right on the mark. That's when the geometry of that clutch lifter is going to work at its peak. And with that, we can put this clutch cover on.
Roy Vanderveer, how about that video, guys? I believe our audio system is a go at this point. Please comment quickly, and I'll move on with the show, but I don't think there should be a problem with the audio at this point. Great segment. Tyler McGregor's here. He loves Roy Vanderveer, and everybody should be great video, well done. Can everybody hear me, though? That's what I'm concerned with, and I think it's okay right now. I apologize for that little glitch a little bit earlier, but we're going to get right back to the show and move on with Vintage Motocross Q&A. The Moto Showcase is up next and is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. And I've got something a little bit different this week that was sent in to us by Scott Amberson. Scott Amberson has a little bit of an affliction like we all have. Is there a guy watching the show tonight that did not ride a Honda Mini Trail at some point in his life? I don't know about the little QA50, that little green frog looking thing, but the Mini Trail, everybody knew what it was. Everybody wanted one. Anyway, this bike sat in the front yard of a coworker's house for many years. This is a later model 68 straight guard, as opposed to the early slant guard, which is named the slant guard, named such because of a factory mistake. The front mount for the muffler guard was incorrectly placed too low, hence the guard slanted downward. Now, I got to be honest with you here. Is he talking about, see how the guard is on this bike? Maybe he's talking about this. See how is he talking about the chain guard? The way it's slanted like that? Anyway, you guys will know what he's talking about. Anyway, it was given to me approximately in the year 2000. Paint by Steve Cleveland. Matched exactly from the stock tank and frame. Correct welded neck fuel tank for the 68. Correct large head 8 bolts. It has been dechromed and painted K1 front fender. The 68 front fender did not have the relief for the front brake cable. Thus, the cable and the fender would become worn. The correct non-relieved KO front fender was painted at the same time. It has the correct original from Honda, non-reproduction white levers and hand grips. It has an OEM almost impossible to find at the time on-off toggle switch as well. I think we have a picture of that somewhere here. Well, maybe not. Maybe he didn't send it to me. Okay, let's move on. The most difficult part to find in this one of this year especially is the muffler. The 68 only, the patent had not been obtained for the muffler. So the muffler is stamped patent pending. It did not get the correct longer 68C either. It has a newer style, which frankly looks better in my opinion. And I think this bike, there's that little toggle switch that I was talking about a little bit earlier. The green bike from 1970 is a QA50. That's the original Kawasaki bike color. Unlike the single overhead cam Z's 2-speed with smaller wheels. See, I thought you were talking about this, and the chain guard was a little bit different, but I was wrong. Anyway, Scott Emerson, I want to thank you for sending in a couple of great bikes, and it was the first bike for so many of us, the Honda Mini Trail. And if we could all go back there for just a second, remember, especially on Saturday nights, I remember the commercial on television from Honda where they showed the dad folding up the handlebars on this bike and putting it in the trunk of the car and getting it out, the kids starting it up, and away they went. Great times, certainly great memories from Scott Emerson and the Honda Mini Trail. Okay? We are going to take a small break here from Preston Petty. We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Preston Petty said, let there be light, and he gave you this, 1,200 lumens with a rechargeable battery on the back. Hook it up to your bike. No wires, no fuss, no muss. Get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com today. Thanks, Paul Stannard. Okay, I was talking to you guys a little bit earlier about the Barber event that's coming up, okay, in Alabama. That's happening very, very soon. In fact, pre-registration closes tomorrow. Armor's been a sponsor of the show now for about a month. Don't forget, when you go over there, you could use the code VMXQ&A, and you can get a little bit of a discount on some of the things that happen there at Armor, including your membership, vintage views, and things like that. I was sent a video this week of the track that's being built special for the motocross and post-vintage racing that's going to happen at the Barber fall event, which is coming up right in the beginning of October. Check out this video tomorrow, and I'm going to say it again. You're going to see why in a minute. Tomorrow, pre-registration closes for the Fall Festival at Barber. Check out this video. So let me ask you a question, guys. Do you not want to be a part of that? That's pretty amazing. The whole facility, fantastic. Make plans to go to the Barber Festival, the Fall Festival. There's all types of racing, road racing, vintage motocross, cross country, post vintage, and of course, an absolutely amazing museum. You're going to need some time, guys. Don't think you'll catch the museum after the race or before. You'll need a day and a half, 2 days just to get through the museum. Okay? Thank you, ARMA. Thank you, the Barber Museum, and everybody else that's involved with that absolutely fabulous, fabulous facility down there in Alabama. Trivia, we weren't going to do trivia tonight. You know why? We've been busy doing a lot of other things, and I got a lot of other things on the show that I'm going to show you, including that little video right there. But trivia is brought to you by Michael McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. Catch them on Facebook at Motorcyclist Illustrated. Now, should I make this a call-in contest or not? Or should I make it somebody types it in? No, you know what? I'm going to make it a call-in, and I'll tell you why. Because we don't always see everybody's answer from when you come in. Okay? We don't always see everybody's answer. Now, I'm going to read to you a trivia that just came off the top of my head. You're going to call in 925-784-2195. 925-784-2195. You are playing, of course, for the 18x24 poster of Tony DiStefano and Jimmy Weiner. Here it is. Who had the most contracts? Who had the most factory contracts? He had one with Husky, Honda, Yamaha. I don't think he had one with Kawasaki. Who else did he have one with? Can-Am. He had more. He's the only guy with more factory contracts than Brad Lackey. All right? Still around, still a great guy. 925-784-2195. Call in with your answer. Susie's standing by. We're going to get you a poster just like this, okay? In the meantime, how about that Dave Boyden from AMS? He is knocking him dead, running around with that camera attached to the side of his beautiful, clean-shaven head and bringing you information and all sorts of cool stuff from swap meets and motocross. And he was down at Diamond Don's this week, and we're going to have some coverage from that, I'm hoping, coming up in the very, very near future. But for right now, I want to tell you to follow Dave Boyden on Facebook on his personal page. You get to see some really, really cool stuff. In the meantime, Dave has his own segment here on the show. It is called Dave's Classic Corner. All right? Let's get a look at what Dave has in the can for us.
Hi
this
there,
week.
this is Dave Boyston from AMS Racing. It's a nice balmy 105 plus whatever, who knows. Plus Ohio humidity. I can't hate it. Here's a 53M 1968 Montesa. This is the orange Capra. They made 250s and 360s in orange and in blue. Most 250s were orange. Most 360s were blue. I don't know if I've ever seen a 250 in blue, actually. This was the last of the 4-speed Montesas. In mid-year, they came out with a bike called 255. Looked exactly like this bike. It just says the word 5 right here instead of GP. And that's the introduction of the 5-speed transmission. This thing runs great. All original glass on it, so you can see the defenders and side panels look like they probably were on another vehicle. And the tank is off a different one, but that's all original orange gel coat. It's got modern trials tire set and a hooker header, which I've never seen. There's a brand new hooker header on this bike. He says a Mark II Amel carburetor, which is a little bit new. That came out in '75. Legal in vintage, though, if you were racing it. This front fork set was a little ahead of its time and people didn't know, but this fork had 8.1 inches of travel, and in the original road test, Montesa was importing the forks to sell to people. Made by Telesco for Montesa. At 8.2 inch travel front end on a 1968 motorcycle. I think that shift lever's off a street bike and it needs to be about an inch shorter than that. Aftermarket Circle Industries rear sprocket. Stock seat, that's a unique stitch pattern through the middle like that. Yeah, this was a survivor for sure. Almost nothing fits from on this bike on anything else or anything else onto this bike. This is a 53M. 53M. It's a 4-speed 250 Montesa Capra, 1968, 9, and 70.
There you have it. Another great segment from Dave Borgeson on a Montesa. And I threw a little trivia out there. This is Joe Abbate. You're on the Eric Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking to?
Yeah, it's Thomas Ruma, Joe.
Thomas Ruma. I threw out a question there, and I threw it out really quickly. Came off the top of my head. Who had the most factory contracts in professional motocross?
That would be Marty Typhoon Tripe.
That would be Marty Tripes. I think he had like 14 contracts.
He did. He had one with Harley Davidson too, I believe.
He did have one. He did have one with Harley. I think the only one he missed, I think, was Suzuki. I think that's the only one.
Yeah, I think it was.
Anyway,
I believe it was.
Tom, thanks for calling in. I think Susie has your address. And
Thank you. And I love the hoodie Susie made me. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that. The hoodie. All right, Tom, we'll get you that poster out. Thanks for watching the show.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Tom Ruma. He loves the hoodie, and now he's going to have a poster to go along with it. Now, I showed you the Dave Borgeson video, and you know what? I am still just blown away by the two other videos that we showed tonight. The one from Roy with the clutch thing with the Yamaha, and the track that is being built at Barber. We got another video coming up a little bit later on from the Field of Dreams. Jerry Maddox was there. Where do you see this video coming up in just a little bit? But right now, I want to thank Motion Pro for being a sponsor of the show. Don't forget, 20% off across the board at Motion Pro on everything except custom-made cables. Use code MP9135. That's MP9135. And their latest tool that they have, the Sprocket Sidekick, 12 and 14 millimeter. This is a really easy way to get to those nuts that are behind your sprocket without ripping the skin off your knuckles. This is good in other places too. But anyway, another great product, compliments of Motion Pro. Russell Waters, thank you so much for being a provider of lubricants here in the Vintage Motocross Q&A shop. And you have been for years. But you know, AMSOIL, not only AMSOIL. I mean, it's not only oil. They've got firearm lubricant, firearm cleaners. They got grease in all different viscosities for everything from your trailer to your bike to the bearings on your truck. You name it, they've got it. All sorts of cleaning liquids and some really, really great stuff from AMSOIL. Now, how about this? How would you like to save 25%? That's like almost dealer cost. You want to save 25%? Write this down. When you go to order your AMSOIL products, go to theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com. You get 25% off. Theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com. Not amsoil.com. Okay? Don't go to amsoil.com. That's the corporate thing. They've already got billions of dollars. Russell Waters is a humble man from immigrant parents. He wants you to buy from him. Theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com. All right? You got it. What do we got coming up next? Oh, another thing from AMSOIL? No, we already did that. You know what we have? I love this segment of the show. He's been great. People ask me for it. He's gotten 3 or 4 jobs out of the show already. Teddy Boyko and the Expansion Chamber. All right. We recorded a couple of segments with Ted Boyko over the past, well, I think I did it last weekend. But anyway, I've got something here from Ted. And if this gets a little lengthy, I am going to cut it off after a couple of minutes. Go to the page either right after the show or tomorrow. You'll be able to see the video in its entirety. But ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Expansion Chamber with Ted Boyko. Okay, then. Ted Boyko, thanks for joining me again this week on the Expansion Chamber.
Thanks for having me.
Last week we were talking about spark plugs, and I thought a good follow-up would be spark plug caps. I think people take this not for granted, but there are some different types of plug caps. And long story short, one day I had some issue with something to do with a plug cap, and I got a guy on the phone, and he's saying, well, is it a resistor cap or is it not a resistor? And he started talking to me in a language that electrical people use, and ohms and volts, and I don't know. I didn't know that was the problem. I never heard of it being a problem. What do we got here, Ted? What's the difference between a resistor cap, a non-resistor cap? What are we doing here?
You think it would be simple.
Yeah.
It'd be really simple. But these guys have made it so confusing. It's funny. I go to the catalog myself.
Yep.
And there'll be 20 different caps to pick. And I'm looking myself going, holy shit. I just want a effing cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're blue and they're red and they got an angle this way, that way. And I'm going, oh my God. So basically, you do want a resistor cap for a resistor plug. You definitely do.
See, now now you know what, Ted? I didn't know there was such thing as a resistor plug. And okay. So let's do it this way. Tell us what a resistor plug does and where it would be used. Let's cover that first.
They started doing the resistor plugs when they started changing different things in the ECUs to accommodate it. So the resistor would have something to do with the wiring harness, something to do with the nature. So some bikes would call out for a resistor plug,
right?
And some wouldn't. So you're definitely going to want to, there's guys that I know that just grab a cap and throw it on there. But yeah, if you're going to run a resistor spark plug, you definitely want a resistor cap to accommodate the plug.
What do both of these things? How do they complement each other? What is it that they do that is going to make the bike run better?
The difference is you can run it. I've seen guys that actually can take the resistor plug. You can run it and probably don't see a whole lot of difference. Now that's a standard NGK resistor plug cap that I see on a lot of this stuff. And I'm on my dirt bikes. I want a cap I pick something that's simple, but I'm really in on how it attaches the coil wire.
Yes.
So on this end here, I'm really picky on how it screws into the cap or into the wire itself. A lot of guys never, ever check that part of the cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of these guys come to me, hey, I have no spark. Really? You have no spark? Well, you ever check the wire attached to the cap? And the thing's like just spinning on the end of it, and I'm going like, well, and so I pull the cap off.
Yeah, you know what, Ted? Just for a second, let me interrupt you because a cap like this, and unfortunately, I don't think I have a picture of it, of where there is a pin inside there and it's threaded, and that cap actually screws into the copper wire that is in that goes to the coil. Yes.
Yeah. So I always want, and you got to have a good connection. A lot of guys don't ever attach the caps all the way down. It's crazy. You almost have to feel a click.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So a lot of guys just because they don't know any better. But you can honestly get good. It'll still spark and run, even though it's backed out. But it's not going to be, it's throwing a spark that far, So, but you want to attach those things properly. And there's so many of them. That's why I'm picky with what I use. I take like I said, where the wire screws into the cap itself, I want to make sure that thing's cut fresh, has a fresh, there you go. So when you thread that in, you want to have a perfect lit connection. You know what I mean? So a lot of guys never check that. And that's something that you want to periodically check on your wire because, there's times you're going to have an issue with the bike. And if you don't check it, that's one of the problems you're going to find out that's going to cause you problems. So I was talking
about, I just wanted to bring up one point about this picture right here. If you look all the way to the right toward the end of the cap, you can see there's a little, what looks like a screw inside there.
That's right.
And that's what your wire should be screwing into.
Yes.
What I don't quite get here in this picture, Ted, is, I don't know why they put corrosion there. Is there a spring in between there what is that? And what is that 5K? It almost looks like a fuse. What is that?
That is like a fuse. That's basically what it is.
Okay.
And that coil actually transfers whatever the hell it, I didn't design this thing. But yet that's got to be some type of compensator or whatever they call it. I'm not sure what they call it.
Okay.
But that is super a good point. What I'm saying is no one checks that wire to the cap. Super important on any bike. I found that out on my mini bikes when we were kids, that we would have issues, and all of a sudden, and it was a simple fix. You take a set of dikes, clip it back a 1/4 inch, and screw it back in, and it's going to have perfect connection.
Right.
So, but the cap thing has gotten complicated over the years, just like spark plugs have. It's funny that there you go. What angle? You don't even know what the hell to run. It's like, really?
And I would imagine, as old 2-stroke dirt bike guys, a 90-degree L shape, it was over. But I would imagine in a lot of your street bikes, multi-cylinder bikes these days, there must be quite a variety of angles of caps and how these things fit in.
Crazy.
Probably not even all 4 are the same.
Exactly. For instance, a lot of those old 6-cylinder, like a CB, what is it? The one that was a 6, I bought a bunch of them. I'm sure that thing had spark plug caps, because it was hard just to access anything on those old bikes, street bikes. They shoved those big engines. You'd have to take the seat, the tank, and everything off just to access spark plugs. But the caps can be definitely confusing, especially if you look at a catalog. One day I just happened to glance through, and I'm going, and I just blew my mind how many are available. So when you do order one, you really, especially on the new generation bikes, a cap, you can't buy one of these because that's a coil itself. Really? So you can't buy any of those caps that you just showed me, and it's not going to work on an RMZ 450.
These?
Not one of them.
Or any of them, really.
Well, maybe 1 or 2 you might work, but you want to, each brand has their own coil, spark plug cap. And if you notice that the wires now, if you notice a new generation cap, there's a clip at the end of the spark plug cap. A connection so you can plug your ECU wire to. I don't know if you ever noticed that. There's
I would never notice that. I probably never will notice it.
On a new generation 450 or any of those bikes, not only do you have your spark plug cap in there, plugged to the cap is going to be some 4-prong plug that plugs into that coil. So you'll see, like on a lot of these ATVs, that's how they get their spark, because there's no room to put one of those angle style coils in there. So they run just a cap that comes straight down. Yeah. And then it has a 4-prong connection to it. So that plugs into it because there's no room, under ATV, depending on what it is. And they're getting more and more harder to access spark plug caps. I'll just be upfront with you. You can't even access them now on new 450s. You'd be there for 20 minutes just to access the friggin' cap. Because
our audience is geared a little bit more toward the older bikes, Ted, what would you suggest one of our riders does, one of our enthusiasts does when he's, when he knows this is the plug he uses, B8ES, B8EV, whatever it may be, but he's got a cracked plug cap and he's looking for a new one? What would you tell him to go look for in that cap? Because there's too damn many of them out there now. So where does a guy with an older bike go to make make it less complicated?
God, I got a whole shit pot full of them that I buy that I'm really picky. I don't even know what brand it is, and they're in my glass case at work. So I'm going to make a point to shoot a photo of it. Yeah, because they work great on the vintage bikes, and they actually have a clamp on the end. You know where we talked about the wire screwing
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, of course.
It does that, but then also has a clamp on the end of the coil of the cap to tighten down to keep it cinched.
On the plug?
On the wire. So the wire screws into the coil cap.
Yeah.
And then I have a clamp, instead of taking a zip tie to it like people do to keep it tight.
Yes.
This already has a clamp built into the rubber to keep your coil wire tight, after you clip it and screw it into the screw that you're talking about.
Unbelievable.
So on the outside of that, so I'll have to shoot you a photo. I wish I knew the brand. I've been using them forever.
Yeah.
They're in all the catalogs. And I've always kept them there because a lot of these vintage bikes, most of them come in, have the old school plastic cap on, like an old YZ. Almost every one that comes in has the broken plastic. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know.
And with the whole piece missing on the plastic, and the guys are running it anyways. So I usually get rid of it, and then, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that kind of hard plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and they lose that rubber cap there. And they'll run it even without the rubber cap, and the thing's flopping. You know what I mean? So
I do.
I try to throw on that. I wish I knew the brand cap that I have.
No, Ted, look, here it's the good news is your segments are pre-recorded. This won't be on for a couple of weeks. Get me the pictures of the things, and when either before I begin this recording or afterward, I'll be able to show the viewers what they're looking at.
Cool. Sounds
All right?
great. Yeah.
All right, Ted. I got to run for tonight, but when we have you back next time, we're going to be talking about cranks, all right, and balancing and runouts and all sorts of cool stuff like that we know we're going to get some straight information from you on, okay?
Sounds great, man. I look forward to doing it.
Thanks, Ted. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Let's try it again. Sad news out of the Mid-Atlantic this week. Bob Thornwalt has passed away. That is Yankee Bob. May he race in peace. Bob Thornwalt, a Vietnam veteran and a staple in the Mid-Atlantic area as far as vintage racing goes. His name was synonymous with the Yankee brand, and I got to see and spend some time with Bob at least once a year at the York Swap Meet and at the Potomac Vintage Riders. What?
No sound.
How could there not be sound?
No sound. Okay. We're back.
Now we're back.
Yes. Okay.
All right, here's what we're doing. I'm going to take a commercial break. You're going to hear from the International Motocross Museum, and we'll be back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A in just a moment.
I'm Don Kadowski, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't go anywhere.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. And any of your donations or anything you purchase from the International Motocross Museum is 100% tax deductible. If you'd like to become a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A, you can for just $249.95 a month. Space is limited on the board behind me, just $250 a month, and we're up to about 1 million people a month. Not so bad. Pretty good. I don't think you could buy all those likes and boost your posts on Facebook for whatever it is, $5 a day. I don't think you could do that and reach as many people as we reach here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Now, as I promised you a little bit earlier, we have a video from Jerry Maddox. This was a Field of Dreams. He raced that last week. And as I like to call it, a day at the races with Jerry Maddox. Let's get a look at this and see what Jerry...
Good afternoon, everybody. By now, I hope you know my name is Jerry Maddox, and I'm the host of our little show called Life of a Vintage Motocross Racer. And yes, that's me getting my Elsinore prep for the weekend and going through the motions. But before we really talk too much shop, let's take a look at some post-vintage bikes. RM370, RM125. Post-vintage, you know, guys, comes in right in the 1980s range. You get into the late 70s, and then you start going through your 80s range. Look at that KTM. Those things used to weird me out back in the day, but they have become such good motorcycles. And remember when Honda changed the color of the CR250 to that, whatever that is, the glow-in-the-dark red-orange? I thought those things were beautiful. That's so 90s right there. Jeff Ward Kawasaki replica. Can't believe how beautiful that KX is. Look at that. All these bikes are absolutely fantastic, you know, and it's kind of where a lot of the attention is, but you cannot turn your back on CZs. I love those old CZs. They used to have one called a Side Piper, and I don't know all the nomenclature on CZs, but I love watching those guys race them. Now, that's a bike dear to me, the RM250. That looks like a 77 RM250. 79 CR125. You know I like that. I grew up on that bike. And that big Mako, those things used to throw dirt clods at me like mad. And on the very end, I saw a particular bike that caught my attention. It looks like to be a 1980 YZ250. This bike is just absolutely gorgeous. Well, anyway, let's go through a little tech inspection, and multi-time national champion Bob Bean is going through clunker and just checking eligibility on the bike and making sure it's all good. And then, of course, it's off to jetting. But you know, guys, while we were jetting, this really happened. Take a look at this and watch what happens.
Hey, aren't you the guy I see on the Joe Abbate show on Wednesday evenings?
Thanks for noticing.
No
How can I help you today?
I'll just come up to meet you. I saw you on TV and watch Joe's show every weekend or every Wednesday. Yeah.
I love Joe's show, and thank you. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. You know, the one thing about Joe Abbate show is it's brought so much attention to my racing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just my pleasure to get on and talk to you and all the other people that are on the show. It's really good. So, again, thank you for coming up. I got clunker stickers, I got water, I got anything you need. And if you want to, just hang out with me all day, okay?
All right, I
appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my favorite part of the show, race review or race highlights. You know, look at it. This is my film crew is a makeshift film crew called Scam Body Productions this weekend, taking care of our videos. And this reminds me of the helicopter cam from Carlsbad back when the World GPs would come to America, and I would watch it on Wild World of Sports and watch all my superheroes go around the track. But what you're watching now is me and Ohio's Logan Bryan. Logan is a 25-year-old engineering student challenging me on my 125. He's riding a YZ 490 at the point, so I'm probably holding him up a good bit, but we went after it for a few laps and then just having a great time. What a great kid. He's one of the great youth riders of the Army Nationals now, and so much respect for this kid. But my 1980 CR 125 was probably aggravating him pretty bad right there, and I think he'd had enough of me right about here. Yeah, it was dusty, but you know, the track owners, they did such a good job trying to keep the track watered. I understand that Pennsylvania's been incredibly dry for the last few months and in a drought, really. But back to racing, I rode the 1980 CR 125, getting it prepped for an upcoming race, and worked out the bugs on it. You know, got the thing running really good. I was really impressed with the bike, but more impressed with look how beautiful that bike is. And those clothes that I have on, by the way, those are my Team Honda clothes from when I was 15 years old. Those are the actual threads that I wore back then. Yeah, I've had to sew them up a few times. But hey, what a great race highlights. Look at that.
Hey guys, my celebrity of the day is none other than Gary Simmons. I don't need to explain who Gary is. Gary has blessed me with coming out and hanging out with me all weekend long at the Army Nationals this week. We can't say thank you enough, Gary, for being the MC of the show, stuff like that. I've been chasing Gary down for a little bit because I would like to have your autograph on a particular picture. And this particular picture is my buddy Don Kadulski getting the whole shot at the Daytona Supercross. Yeah. But I was real quick to remind him, look who's about to pass you, brother. If you do on the inside. That's Gary Simmons. So I'm going to get an autograph from him. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Woo! Folks, that's our show. Literally just got off the track. Man, that was a good day. Field of Dreams, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now we're headed to Zor Motocross facility in Smithville, I think, New York. And that is south of Buffalo for a 125 Pro GP that has a $6,000 purse on it. So I expect lots of talent. That's our show. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. This is as real as it gets, folks. I'll see you next week.
Let me ask you a question, guys. Where are you getting that? Only at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you, Jerry Maddox, Gary Semix, everybody who was involved with that little production for bringing us what this show needs, has always needed, is race coverage. And boy, you did it with the drone. The audio is excellent. Jerry Maddox, thank you so much. And I didn't catch the guy's name who came over and said he enjoyed my show every week. He had the yellow shirt on. Anyway, let's find out who that is, and maybe we'll get him some stickers or a shirt or something like that, all right? What's It Worth is up next, brought to you by Full Circle Racing. This is the part of the show where I ask you, the viewers at home, to take your best guess on what you think this bike recently sold for, all right? And you will get some stickers just like this. And Suze, let me get you on camera there just a second. Oh, you want to do the, we don't have to do it right now, but when we get done with the.
Well, I could do it right now.
Do you know who your winner is for the viewer appreciation?
I do.
Who is it?
It's Tony Epperson.
Tony
Epperson.
Okay.
Epperson. Tony Epperson.
Tony Epperson, you need to get us your address.
Yeah.
All right. Tony Epperson, you are tonight's viewer appreciation winner. You will get some grips compliments of Paul Stannard and Preston Petty products, but we need your mailing address. All right. You get us your mailing address and we will take care of that. And as I was saying, you'll get some stickers like this. If you can get as close as you possibly can without going over on this bike right here. This is a 1976 Kawasaki KX125. The customer, or the seller rather, says he has owned the bike for 4 years and he only used it to putt around the yard a couple of times a year. He rebuilt this bike from top to bottom, although his pictures, well, he should have taken a lot better pictures of the bike and gotten a little bit closer. But anyway, he says he has 2 of these and this is the one that he wants to sell. The bike runs great. I can send you a video of it running if you would like. The buyer is responsible for pickup and shipping costs. I'll help him load the bike or store it until it is ready to be picked up. Now, from what I can see, the bike looked like it was restored pretty well. I would love to get, some closer pictures of the rims, the spokes, some of the hardware, and the seller just really hasn't done this for us. These Red Wing shocks, I know they're aftermarket, and well, they look pretty nice. Everything looks nice from the distance that we could see it from, but I'd like to see it a little bit closer. However, there it is. It's a 1976 Kawasaki KX125, distinguishable from the 74 and 75, which are, of course, that lime green with white fenders. How much do you think this bike recently sold for? $3,500? $4,500? $55,000? The guy said he'll supply you with a video of it running. This bike sold on eBay for $4,500. $4,500. Wow. And there was a feedback in there too. And it is a confirmed deal. Nice little bike for $4,500. I got to say that. Okay. And there you have it. Let's hear from our sponsor, Full Circle Racing. We will be back to wrap. Oh, you know what we got? I've got an incredible video coming up for you from Paul Griffin, Mako Mo, coming up in just a minute, right after we pay some bills here with our bud from Full Circle Racing.
I am Heikki Mikkola. We will be right back.
That was perfect, Heikki.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
Suze,
yeah.
I forgot to ask who got closest without going over on the, you're on camera here. You see yourself?
Without going over, it was without going over.
I got Greg Wynn at 4,800.
Well, you got Kevin Burgess at 4,200 though.
Right. 42?
Yeah.
Ken Burgess?
It was Kevin.
Kevin Burgess. Okay, yeah.
And he's
also the guy in the yellow shirt.
Right.
Kevin Burgess.
Right.
These are exciting times we live in, Kevin. Due to the fact that you're here watching the show, you are going to get a set of grips from Preston Petty Products. Message me your mailing address. Go to my personal.
I have it already.
Susie already has it.
Yeah.
Do that, and we're going to get you. Jerry Maddox wanted you to have a Vintage Motocross Q&A shirt too. So your favorite yellow shirts, I can get you a yellow shirt, black, white, any size you want.
Gray.
Leave a message with Susie, the same way she got your mailing address, and we're going to get you a VMX Q&A shirt, compliments of the show. But it was Jerry Maddox who wanted to make sure that you actually received that, okay? So you thank Jerry Maddox when you see him. What else we got going on here?
That's it. Epperson was a view appreciation guy.
Okay.
And that's it.
I want to thank Bultaco East for being a supporter of the show. Thank you, Steve Grandis. Did you know we'll be back next week with Jeff Kokoski? And this is something I was talking about just a little bit earlier. And it's a new and exciting segment to our show. And it's being brought to us by Paul Griffin, who I don't like to call him this. I mean, his dad was truly legendary in the Mako world. They called him Mako Mo. And Paul has continued on with the Mako brand. He has a beautiful shop down there toward Santa Cruz. And it's more than a shop, actually. It's a museum, and I'm sure you could get in there if we asked nicely for some private viewings, okay? It's a couple of Paul's bikes that are outside. But let's get down to it, and we're going to give you another video from Paul Griffin this week and Mako Mo. Here it is. At the stage.
Welcome back to Mako Mo. And
there you go.
Today I'm going to talk to you about vintage racing your Mako and some different categories that you may not know that certain models of Makos or any brand you can compete in. And I'm going to bark off some ARMA classes. I don't want to focus on ARMA because I know there's a lot of great clubs out there. My friend Fritz Gunther is a big advocate of the Pacific Northwest Club, and he has a lot of fun in that, and they have similar categories. So I'm just going to kick it off with the 1960s Mako oval barrel. This two-stroke does qualify for some premier classes, and the premier class is dominated by four strokes. And this two-stroke here makes them all grumpy and unhappy when somebody shows up with one, because they probably get off the line just as good, and later in the race it's lighter, it's faster, and it gets by them for the win. The square barrel, man, there was so many square barrels sold in the United States. The Aki, Johnson, and Adolf Wiles of the world came over from Germany on this bike and dominated. And the American dealership stocked them, and they sold a lot of them. So there's a lot of them out there. And this would fall into the classic class, which there is a 125, 250, and 500 class in the classic. And that's usually the classic class was 60s to early 1970 motocross models, which includes the square barrel. The Grand Prix, another class. Your 76 to 77 AW. Not a lot of AWs out on the track when you go vintage racing, but you may not know this. There is a class for it. So you can drag out your Gramps or your dad's 77 Adolf Wild 250, 400, 440 and have a good time. This is a great bike to ride. It's not quite as tall as the 81 490s, and it's kind of, the height is right in between. And you can really set these up pretty fun to ride a lot of the vintage tracks on. It's got good suspension, even stock, and they could be set up really well. The Ultima, which really means ultimate class, can't have a disc brake, can't have a power valve, and really the 81 490 just dominates this class. And this bike, if you're riding a modern day 450 four-stroke at your modern tracks nearby, or if you're a vintage guy and you know of some fast hot shoe, this is a really great bike for him to get into vintage racing with. A lot of the magazines, Dirt Bike Magazine, Motocross Action Magazine, forever has done comparisons with the angles of this chassis are comparable to Jet Lawrence's factory Honda to this day. So it's got the handling traits already. It obviously is a drum brake motorcycle, and it's not going to stop like your disc brake bikes out there now. But this is a great bike for your buddy that rides a 450 all day long to hop on and just really enjoy vintage racing. Well, there you have it. There's some 4 different classes that, just prove that you don't need a 74 radial to go out and have fun. You probably have a couple of these bikes at a friend's house or a family member that you can take out today and have a lot of fun with. Well, that's it for me, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Mako Mo. You like that segment? I am loving it. Thank you, Paul Griffin, for all you do for us here at the show. You've got a great collection of bikes that far exceeds these 3 that you see right here. Thanks for all you've been doing for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. You know, also want to thank Ben from Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast. Be sure to check out their Facebook page, Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast. Up next, This Week in Motocross History. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. Be sure to visit them online at racerx.com. And on this very day, September 24th, it was 1972. The opening round of the 1972 Trans Am goes off in Copetown in Ontario, Canada, and Suzuki's Roger DeCoster is the winner. DeCoster went 1-1, and Sweden's Aki Jansson 2-2 on his Mako. Husqvarna's Heikki Mikkola 3-3. Top American in 4th place was Brad Lackey, 4th in both motos aboard his Kawasaki. DeCoster was on the first really hit streak of his epic career, having won the overall in both the recent Trophy 250 race, the Trophy of the Nation, and the Motocross the Nations. Though he did not win every moto like Danny Chandler would do a decade later. And yeah, that was pretty amazing stuff by Danny Chandler. But of course, Roger, the man, 5 world championships. 1978. It was to no one's surprise, Bob Hanna wins the opening round of the 1978 Trans Am Series in Mid-Ohio aboard his Works 425 OW39 Yamaha. But the runner-up is a big surprise. Mako's semi-privateer, Denny Schwartz, an Ohio native. Hanna was dominant force in 78, and likely a big part of that reason why the field of Europeans that used to follow the series had dwindled down to just a few riders, Belgium's Roger DeCoster and Honda's Graham Noyce. Schwartz led much of the second moto, urged on by his friends and family as he ended up with a 7-2 moto score that was good enough for a second overall. Marty Tripes was third with a 5-4, while DeCoster ran a 3-8 for a 4th place finish. Let's get right to the announcements. The announcements are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. Happy birthday, Warren Reed. Happy birthday, Don Kadowski. Here's another picture of Don Kadowski with the legendary Pete Noneman at Daytona. Happy birthday to Mitch Payton. Just yesterday was Mitch's birthday. And today, the International Motocross Museum founder, Terry Good. Happy birthday. All right, guys, I want to wish you all a very happy birthday. Thank you all for watching the show and for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We got some races coming up this weekend. Zor Motocross Park, September 27th and 28th. Get over to zormotopark.com if you want to know more about what's happening there. George Ackerman has nothing to do on October 25th, so he invites about 500 people over to his house. He serves them food and drinks to hang out with Warren Reed, Barry Higgins, Steve Wise, and who knows who else will be down there, County Line Church Road in Ruther Glen, Virginia on October 25th. You'll see the Moto Museum and the Mini Moto Museum that happens from 10 till 4. I am rehearsing and I am making notes for the big one that happens in Northern California Motocross Reunion, October 18th, 2025. That goes on from 3 to 7. Get over to roadtorecovery.com and get your tickets. You might wind up on a bike ride, a mountain bike ride with Brock Glover. You might wind up playing golf with Dana Waxon, Tom Rapp, Jeff Fox, who knows. Brad Lackey's going to be there, Billy Grassi, David Bailey, Roger DeCoster, and confirmed Ricky Johnson and Jeff Ward. Happens October 18th. There's another race coming up this weekend, Bushy Ranch. All right? Motobilia, that happens at 303 County Road 84 in Canby, California. That's a big race happening this weekend. You've heard me talk throughout the show about the ARMA event, the Barber Vintage Festival. Heaven on Earth, October 2nd through 5th, Birmingham, Alabama. Okay? You don't want to miss that. Pre-registration closes tomorrow. All right? It happens on Thursday. Closes tomorrow. Got another big event coming up, Farm 14 MX, that happens Sunday, October 19th. Thank you to all my sponsors. Racer X, International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, Bultaco East, Preston Petty Products, Full Cycle Racing, and Amsoil. Where it says logo here, that could be your logo. Right now, we do have the ARMA logo there. And but there's always room for somebody else for just $249 a month. And don't forget, back a bit, November 1st. It happens down at Crowder's Creek ARP Church. Reverend Al Roof will be making it happen down there. It's a barbecue fundraiser, 207 Crowder Creek Church Road in Gastonia, North Carolina. And you know what? You know what I miss about New Jersey? 3 things. Some friends and family, definitely the food, and being able to attend the Nesco Swap Meet that happens every November. This year, it's for 2 days. It happens November 1st and 2nd. Get a hold of Joe Balazzo on Facebook. There's food, there's classes. He's got a little track back there you can ride on. Just a great time down there in South Jersey. The 26th annual Nesco Vintage Dirt Bike Street Bike Swap Meet. Suze.
Yeah.
That wraps it up for Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Tonight.
No, because we had the thunderstorm rolling through. I had to put the boys in the bedroom. So we're not going to bring Gino out tonight, but I'll have him on next week. I promise you. Suze, good job on the giveaways.
Yep.
All right. And thanks again to all of our sponsors. We will see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I will post all the videos you saw tonight on the Vintage Motocross Q&A page tomorrow, but we got them all in and we only went about 10 minutes over. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. We're working really, really hard to bring you events, museum stuff, and all kinds of cool things, okay? We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. What's that, Steve Simons?
Hi, I'm Steve Simons. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
All right, Steve. Show's over, man. We got to go.